Hello everyone, today we'll be looking at how to capture imagery in GoogleEarth. So before we'll start, I will advise us to create our working folder. That's where we want to save our satellite image that we want to capture to. The one that we'll be using will be under our local drive, see, online GS training, and we have a folder called Imagery. So inside this folder we are going to create a text file that will be using to collect the coordinates of four corners of these images. So here we'll have chord, and I'll open it up. I'll script it to be x comma y, enter. So now coming back to GoogleEarth here, I will just type the location I'm interested in. I will type Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria. Of course, I have something related. Yeah, suggested something related to me. So I'll just click on this. Then I'll click on search. So it's checking the database to look up the match of that particular address. So here we have the location that we typed in. Here now is the Ikeja, but I'm not interested in the whole of Ikeja particularly. Let me say I'm interested in this portion. So I'll just demarcate the portion I want to capture using this add polygon tool. Once I click on that, it will give me the access to place points to form the polygon at each junction of my area of interest. Let's assuming I have interest in this. You can always adjust the shape if you're not okay with the shape by allowing your cursor to turn to a finger here and drag the point to your place of interest. But if you look at this polygon now, the white surface is covering up the image that is at the background. So what we are going to do to change that is you are going to come to the style and color. Under the area you can see we have it filled and outline. You change it to be outline, then you change the color of the line. Let us say I change it to red. I can increase the width of the line. So we have our line here. As this place is, I can capture it once and for all and forget about it. But if my area of interest is very big and I want to be capturing it piece by piece in order for me to have a better resolution, what I would do is that, assuming I want to use this as an example now, let me assume I zoom to a particular level of resolution. I believe with this level of resolution I should be able to see everything that I needed to digitize out clearly. So before I would do anything, I will make sure that this image is aligned to the screen by holding down my ruler, and you can see this image as it is like this is tilted. So if I should capture the image like this and during the time of georeferencing I will not have the correct representation, the correct value of what I'm going to extract here. So in other words, I'll try and hold down my ruler and pull the mouse forward to make sure that the image aligned to the screen. You can see it's no more going, it means the image is now aligned to the screen. So for me to maintain the true north, I'll just press N on my mouse. You can see that the image is tilted a bit, so I'll have to delete that and redemarcate in order for me to have a true representation of area of interest. So let me carve the polygon again so that there won't be any issue with the image in relation to the true north. You can always capture the image even when the true north is not when the image is tilt when you are trying to place it at the true north. It doesn't mean anything, but for convenience's sake, let's make it to be true north and everything aligned together. So here now we have the image, we have the area of interest. I'll just let me call the name of this, let me call it extent. So that's the extent of where we want to work on. So now I'll just zoom to a corner. I think with this particular, with what I'm seeing here, by the time I'm capturing the image I should have a better resolution. So the next thing for me to do now is to get the coordinate of these four corners. The coordinate of these four corners is very important. For those of us that are opening our GoogleEarth from the beginning, like we are just opening it, you should be having some tool here, like the navigation, the zoom in and zoom out. They might be confusing you, so for you to remove them you can always come to view. You'll see show navigation, you click on never, the status bar, anything that you think might be disturbing you to get what you really need from the image, you can always check them off so that you have a clearer view of what you're working on. So now what we want to do now is to get the coordinate of this corner here, but make sure majority of time try and place your coordinate, your point, your place mark on a bare ground so that it won't be contradicting whatever you are trying to digitize. Look at how the coordinate is changing as I'm moving around this place mark. So I'll prefer to place a place mark somewhere here because it's just an open land, but this particular place mark format it's not advisable to be using, so I'll have to change it to something better. So I'll just come here. You can pick from these two, they are much more a better representation of what we can make use of. This one too, it's okay, so but I prefer making use of either this or this. So picking that, I will now reduce the opacity, I mean the scale, to something smaller so that by the time I'm digitizing I can only see it. If I don't want, if the other person checking the imagery doesn't pay more attention to detail, might not be able to see it. So the next thing we'll do is to rub up this name. We have to rub up that name. So I'll pick the longitude first. I'll copy it and paste it here. We know that our longitude is our X. Then I will copy the latitude, which is equivalent to our Y. I'll paste it there too. Can you see that? Then I'll give this one a OK. I'll place another point. Tells me I place the point somewhere here. This place too is also land. Although there are certain situations whereby it might be difficult for you to find a bare land on your image to place a point. Just place it in a reasonable place that you know that at least it will reduce the contradiction of that point with the content of the image. So you just copy the coordinate and give this OK. So now be looking at, please be conscious of how I place the point. You know, I place this one first, then followed by this. Now this time around I'm placing this one first. I'll rub up the name, copy the coordinates, so click OK. So we'll do for the next corner, which is the one at the bottom here. So rub up the name, copy the coordinates, comma, then I'll give this one OK. So we have the coordinate of the four corners to be used. If you look at the way I captured the image, I captured this first, followed by this. I captured this, followed by this. So it means the right corners are the first two, while the left corner are the last two. So the reason being that they are supposed to be a kind of a relationship between this image and the next one that we are going to capture. So that's the essence. I'm just showing us this. So as we get there, you get to know the reason why I'm showing us. So let's check the alignment again. I think the alignment is okay this way. Then we can now capture this image. So I'll come here under the file, save image. So once I try to save the image, it will show me all these things which I don't need them. So I'll just uncheck. So the next thing is I will change the resolution. I will change it to maximum. So once I change it to maximum, I can always click on save. Now this time around, I have my image folder already I'm inside my image folder. Although if you're not inside your image folder, you can always navigate to where it is. My own is on drive C, and is a GIS training. You can see the imagery. So this first image, I'll call it 1. So once I click, the software will try to process what I'm trying to save. But please don't do this mistake. Don't open anything on the screen to cover up the image you're trying to capture, because if you do that, it will affect the resolution of the image you are trying to capture. So you just have to be patient with the software, which the processing of it would depend on the data that you're using. So let's see what the outcome of this image will look like after the capturing. So we have the image for that particular place being captured. So the next thing is that, this boundary, there's still an extension of it at the other end. So we'll just click on the image and drag to the other ends. So that's where the boundary ends. But don't forget, there should be an overlap between this image, that's the previous image that will capture, and this new image here, so that by the time we georeference them, they will definitely fall side by side. So the overlap have to be these last two coordinates that will capture on the previous image. So they will serve as the overlap, because whatever you georeference there, is still the same point, the same value you're going to use in georeferencing them here, meaning that after the georeferencing, they will definitely see each other the way they're supposed to. So now on this coordinate file, we've not saved what we've collected, so we have to save it so that we have this particular code here. But this time around, we have this first two, which is supposed to be the last two for the previous image. So we'll delete the first two coordinates of the first image. So we are left with the last two, which will be the first two for this new image that we want to capture. So I'll just place the remaining place mark. I'll copy the coordinate, the latitude and the longitude, the latitude and the longitude, the longitude. I'll place that. Now click OK. So the next one is let me see. I think this place will be fine. Hey, I forgot to rub up the name for the first point I placed, but it's fine, you can always change that. So I have this. Let me give this OK, and let me change the name. You can always change the name to rename, or you come to property and rub up the name, then you give your coordinate OK again. So we have it there. So now let's take care of this. This time around we are not going to save, but we are going to save as. Please don't forget that, because this is a new coordinate for the new image. So I'll just click on save as. So we can always call this 1 of 1. We know that this call is for the first image. So this second image, the coordinate for the second image is 1 of 1. The reason why I'm giving this 1 of 1 is that the image also will be saved as 1 of 1. So anytime you see 1, any image that you see that carries 1, that carries 1 of something, you will know that it's the image of the first row. So it means they go along in a side lap. They go along in a side lap. So here now I'll capture this image and I'll give it 1 of 1. You know this one is 1, but this time around I'll give this one 1 of 1. That's 1_1. So I'll just save that, and you can see the software is processing that. So we have the image captured. So the next thing we are going to do, we still have this each at the bottom, the boundary still covered to the bottom. I'll just scroll up. That's the end of the boundary. But before I scroll up, there's something I want to call your attention to, and that's the way I capture this coordinate. During the last with the previous image, when I captured this last two coordinates, I captured the upper one first, followed by the lower one. I captured this upper one first, followed by the lower one, meaning that this one will be first image in this first coordinate in this second image, and this one will be second coordinate, this one will be third coordinate, and this one will be fourth coordinate. So by the time I move this image up now, the overlap between this image and the one at the top of it will only be catered for by the second coordinate and the fourth coordinate, meaning that on this coordinate file I'll be deleting the fourth coordinate and the third coordinate. Please take note of that. It's very, very important that you understand the reason why I do that. As I explained, this was the second coordinate when I was capturing in the previous image. Like now, this one, I captured this one first, I captured this one, followed by it, I captured this one, and I captured this one. So this one will be the first one on this image now, this one will be the second one on this particular image, this one will be the third one, and this one will be the fourth one. So by the time I move this image up, the first and the third are not useful again, so we have to delete them and make it do with the second and the fourth. So now I'll just capture the other two coordinates so that we can continue work. I'll place the mark here. Don't forget to rub off the name. So I'll copy the coordinates. Then I'll give this OK. Let me see, where can I place this coordinate? I just place it somewhere around this place. So this time around I'll save this one too as I'll save it as 2 because that's the second row. Let me give this one. So and I'll save the image. I'll call it 2. I'll call it 2. So we have the image capture too. So don't forget, in this image the first coordinate will be this, while the second coordinate will be this, the third will be these will be first, will be second, and they'll be third, and those will be fourth. Please don't forget, we come from the top. This will be first, this will be second, this will be third, and this will be fourth. So meaning by the time we move to this side, the second and the fourth will not be useful to us here. So what we are going to do, the second will be deleted, the fourth will be deleted. So the next thing we'll have to do now is to place a new coordinate somewhere here. You can decide to place another one somewhere here if you don't want to go back and copy the second coordinate of the first image that was firstly captured, so that it will save us time. But it is advisable, if the image that you're capturing, you want it to be of higher accuracy when you're georeferencing, you have to pick the same coordinate that you capture for this second point of the first image that will firstly capture to represent that corner. So we copy the coordinate and save. We'll give this one OK. We place the next CGP, which is also known as ground control point. Then you drop, but don't forget to put the comma, because if you don't put the comma, the the software might not be able to see clearly what those values represent. So we have it there. I'll give this one to OK. Then I will now save this one as 2 underscore 2. That's 2 of 2. 2 of 2. So the image will be saved as 2 of 2. 2 of 2. Sorry. So that is so that is how to capture image type by type in GoogleEarth. And the next thing you will do for these images is for you to digitize them, to georeference them in ArcGIS environments. You georeference them one after the other. So after the georeferencing, you can now add all of them to the ArcMap environment to see how they will stand side by side. There are a lot of methods that one can use in capturing image in Google, particularly using some softwares. But the beauty of this method that I taught you now is you will be able to capture a very large extent at once. Like all these small pieces that we are capturing, you can capture a very large extent with this method at once. Like if you are working with let's say Ibadan, you can subdivide Ibadan to like maybe 11 tiles and you still have a better resolution. Let's check the resolution of the one that we've captured so far so that we can see how the thing look like. So you can see, I think with this one can make it do with the image. A lot of things can be done with this image, with this particular resolution that we have here. At least we can see cars if one can see clearly. At least this one can serve the purpose of whatever one needs is to do. So the next thing you will do is for you to georeference this image. I've already taught us how to georeference. So once we georeference, the next class will discuss briefly on how to make these pieces to be a single image. So we are going to stop the class today here. So if you have any question, please don't hesitate to drop your question. Thank you.